This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social. Delighted to be joined here today by unbeaten cruiserweight prospect Chris BILLAM-SMITH. We're down at McGUIGAN's gym. A couple of weeks out from your bout with RIAKPORHE. How you doing, Chris?
Yeah, very well, thanks mate. Yourself?
Very well, thank you. Very well, nice to see you. It's been a while since I've been down to the gym. A few little things going on. How's it been? What have you been up to?
Training hard. Plenty of sparring this camp. In previous camps I haven't had a lot of sparring, but this camp had a lot of sparring. Good sparring as well with Lawrence. So yeah, it's been by far my best camp. Pardon the cliche, but feeling great. Looking forward to July 20th.
Just talk to me about that. Obviously, this is the first fight that you would have had since the introduction of Lawrence OKOLIE into the camp. Another cruiserweight. Spoke to Shane today about that and kind of doing the in-house sparring. He said that he has to be wary sometimes about potential rivalries or friction being caused. What's it like for a fighter to be sparring somebody in-house? Does it change it? Is it different than sparring somebody coming in? What's that like?
Yeah, because you build a rapport with someone who you train with day in, day out. We've built a small friendship up because he's obviously only joined recently, but it's definitely different. But it's been good. It's been really good sparring. We've both brought each other on a lot. We've both improved a lot, and that's in such a short space of time. But yeah, it can be different from when other people come in. But it's definitely been very competitive sparring.
Now, I think it's fair to say that it's something that I mentioned to you briefly off camera. If you could have picked anybody in the country as a sparring partner for RIAKPORHE, you'd have probably gone with Lawrence OKOLIE. Do you feel like it's worked out that way when you've been working? Yeah,
definitely. He's tall, rangy, and he can punch hard. I believe he's got a lot more to his game than Richard. That's no disrespect, but I believe he's got a lot more to his game, and he's very effective at what he does, and they've given me lots to think about during and even after spars about the next spar. And so I've been thinking all camp of ways to get round the height and the reach and avoid the power shots and stuff. So yeah, it's been really good for me.
And we've spoken about this before in the past, the fact that this is kind of your big step-up fight. RIAKPORHE is probably, I think it's fair to say, is comfortably the best opponent that you would have faced when you face him on July the 20th. Has that affected your preparation at all? Have you found you've taken this camp not more seriously, because every camp you take seriously, but has it been different in this fight? Obviously now the fight's getting a bit closer, sort of the eyes and the attention are starting to grow a bit. How have you dealt with that?
Yes. I didn't realise there was something missing in other camps, but there was. So now I've got that bit between the teeth as such, and it's been a really, it's been a happy camp where there's been no complaints. It's just been hard work, and just you've got that little bit of fire in your belly, bit between the teeth, like I said, and I think because it's a domestic fight and people, the opponent a lot longer than I have before with previous fights, and yeah, it's obviously he's like you said on paper, he's the toughest opponent.
What's that like for you, having somebody, as you make a good point there, with somebody announced to fight? Well, you've had your announcement, and it's not kind of the week of or the week before, which has happened in the past, or no late opponent changes. What's that like for you now? Are you somebody who sits down and watches tape? Have you gone back and looked over Richard's other fights? Do you feel like that's obviously a benefit to you going into this one?
Yeah, I like to watch a little bit of my opponents. It's not like you get too caught up in it, because I expect a better RIAKPORHE than we've ever seen. I believe so, because he's come off the back of 2 good wins against 2 worthy opposition, and his confidence is going to be an all-time high, and that could. So for that reason, I'm expecting a better version. But then again, I do believe that could be the downfall as well, to him and his preparations and him on fight night.
What's your reaction been like back home, down in sunny Bournemouth? I know you've built yourself quite a good little following down there. What's it been like, particularly now as you get closer and closer to the fight?
Yeah, I went to a show the other week. There was a show down there the other week. Steve Bendel put it on. My mate Lee Cutler boxed on it. and it was everyone's there saying I can't wait for your fight and stuff. So it's really nice. It's nice to have that following. I sold over 200 tickets for this fight, so should be a good amount of people in there on fight night cheering me on. And yeah, the support is it's unbelievable. It's a real privilege to have all the support from people back home.
What do you make of the cruiserweight scene on an international level? Recently, we've seen Yunia Dorticos knock out Andrew Tabiti, has advanced through to the final. Did you see the other semi-final, Bradis and Glavatsky? What, if you did, you nodded in your head, what did you think to that?
I saw it next day. Confusing. It's not really Bradis' fault. I mean, the elbow was a bit naughty, but the whole punching after the bell and had him absolutely gone way after the bell. It's the ref's fault to a certain extent, but then if he didn't hear it, he didn't hear it. It's not like he heard the bell. But it was a strange ending, and if you're in Glowacki's team, you're going to be really annoyed, as Bradis would have been if it was the other way around. Quite a dirty fight, but yeah, it was interesting. But Bradis I really rate as a fighter. He's really exciting to watch. He's got a nice style. He's busy for a cruiserweight, but he can punch hard with it as well. It's I really enjoy watching him.
You mentioned that. I think in his post-fight interview, he said that he did hear the bell go and then carried on punching anyway. So does that change your thoughts on that a little bit?
They were both punching, weren't they?
Yeah, I guess.
So yeah, to a certain extent, it's boxing. It's caught up in the moment. It's a massive fight for him. Last time, obviously, he only got to the semi-final of that tournament, and there's a lot on the line, and you get caught up in the moment. Not saying I'm not condoning it, but I can see why he's done it.
What do you make of the final, Dorticos versus Bradis? Who do you give the edge to?
Bradis, I believe, just because I believe he's got slightly better all-round, but Dorticos, I don't believe Bradis will knock Dorticos out. Bradis punches hard, very hard, but Dorticos seems to be made of, we saw him in the Gassayev fight, was getting hit with clean a lot. Whether that fight took anything out of him, and he hasn't shown that it has as such so far, but an interesting fight. Bradis got to be careful. But I'd pick Bradis to win that on points.
Back to your fight, and particularly your relationship with Shane McGUIGAN, your trainer. For those people who are watching who maybe don't know that, don't know why they wouldn't. But anyway, how has it been with Shane in build up to this fight? Is the relationship stayed the same? Are there certain things? I'm sure there are certain things that he would have asked you to work on in preparation for Richard as a fighter. But from like a trainer-fighter dynamic going into the biggest fight of your career, has it been different with Shane? The same with Shane? Explain that.
Hasn't changed too much. He's excited for me. He's really excited for me. Obviously, previous fights, especially for Shane, it must be hard for him to get up for because they've been people that I'm supposed to go in there and beat, and everyone else is seeing this as a 50-50 fight. It's billed as a 50-50 fight, whereas previous fights haven't been billed as that. So it's a good stage for me as well. So he's excited for me to, have my moment on July 20th, and so it's slightly different for him. Obviously, we've been together 2 years now. Been training up here just over 2 years, and and we've built a good relationship in that time, and he's excited me for me as a trainer and also a friend as well.
Another thing I'm always interested to kind of pick the brains of when I come down here. You've all got a very close team dynamic. Obviously, we've seen Josh Taylor's back in the gym now. Luke Campbell's preparing for his fight with Lomachenko, if and when, or as and when that gets announced. Have you picked up little bits and pieces from everybody, or is it just kind of the experience of working around these guys? I mean, you've been in camp with George Groves, been in camp with, around camps with David Hay, etc. when they're on their way to big fights. Do you take little bits and pieces for various people's preparations for their big fights going into yours?
Not necessarily take specific things, but because everyone's different, everyone reacts differently to certain situations. But yeah, it's being around all those big fights. Some people at this stage, if they're in my boots, and not in this camp, might be slightly more hyped up in the sense of overplaying it in their head. But it's more of just a taking it in your stride thing. There's bigger things to come after this fight. But don't get me wrong, got to perform on July 20th, and I know I'll do that. And then it's moving on to bigger fights. I've been around world title fights, so I think that's helped me in the sense, whereas some people don't have that experience and they go in and they freeze on the night. But that won't be happening with me, especially because of the experience I've had around all the great fighters. You know, the last fight we had in the gym was obviously Taylor's world title fight. So that was an unbelievable night, and it's just more inspiration for me going forward.
So you're 2.5 weeks out. You told me that you wish you were fighting this weekend. You're not. You're 2.5 weeks away. What's the plan between now and then? When do you stop sparring? When do you start sort of tapering down and thinking about the fight, or thinking about weight rather?
Yeah, we'll taper down the last week as we always do. Probably have our last spar 8 or 9 days out. So Thursday or Friday next week. Sparring again tomorrow. So yeah, it's usually do the last spar 8 to 9 days out. And then last week just making weight and usual stuff. But it'll be a long week, I imagine, because I just want to, like I said, I just want to get in there now and do the job. I'm so excited for this fight, and obviously the stage and the support I've had back home and the amount of tickets we've done. Eddie actually said to me when I said about tickets, he said, I think you'll surprise yourself how many you do, and I really have. Support's been unbelievable. Obviously, it being on such a big card has helped, but yeah, it's been great, and really spurs me on to do a number on the night.
Okay, well, always a pleasure catching up with you. It's nice to catch up. I was saying to Shane, it's probably the longest stretch of time away from the gym. We've gone on the gallivanting of the last 6 weeks, but nice to see you looking well. A few little sparring nicks aside, but that's fine. You're supposed to. You're a fighter. What message have you got before we go to fans, particularly those who are going to be travelling up from Bournemouth to watch you face Richard RIAKPORHE on July 20th?
Firstly, thank you to everyone who's messaged me or is coming to the fight and is tuning in one way or another. And I promise to put on a show and bring that belt back to Bournemouth.
Okay, well, Chris BILLAM-SMITH, the gentleman, thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. Look forward to catching up with you soon.
Cheers, Rob. Thanks.